Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the movie from 1979, Rock and Roll High School. This is a sort of rock-themed comedy, and it tells the story of the Vince Lombardi High School, which is an exaggerated version of every troubled high school in cinema history. We don't just have boys smoking in the bathroom, it's literally impossible to see in there due to the miasma that fills the air. The new principal, Miss Togar, who is played by Mary Woronov from Death Race 2000, a fact that automatically makes me want to root for her, isn't just a strict disciplinarian, she's an out-and-out lunatic, and so on and so forth. Everything turned up to 11. Togar's chief adversary at the school is Riff Randall. Riff's a huge fan of the Ramones, and with the technical assistance of her brilliant best friend Kate, she's always up to hijinks of one kind or another. Togar, meanwhile, can't abide Riff's refusal to follow the rules, and Riff has no time for Togar's strict regulations. Clashes between the two are so endemic that Riff's disciplinary record fills an entire filing cabinet. Things come to a head between the two after Riff waits in line for 3 days to get tickets to see the Ramones. Hoping to meet Joey Ramone, she can give him a song she wrote for the band, Rock and Roll High School. Togar confiscates the tickets, leading to a series of escalations in the long-running battle between school authorities and youthful rebellion. Now, given the title of the film, you can probably guess who ultimately comes out on top in that struggle, but like a lot of movies, Rock and Roll High School is much more about the journey than the destination. The film was conceived as an updated version of the teen films of the 50s and 60s with a heavy emphasis on the current music of the time. And the script, in fact, began life as a disco high, but over time developed into something with a bit more grime and a lot less glitter. The resulting movie is not a deep or complicated one, but it does have a clear idea of what it wants to be, and it pursues that goal with considerable energy. I ultimately quite liked the film, though it certainly won't be to all tastes, so let's talk about some of its more interesting features. So, first of all, the Ramones. The Ramones were an American punk rock band formed in New York City in 1974. Sometimes cited as the first true punk rock group, they remained active until 1996, achieving only limited commercial success, but nonetheless finding a dedicated hardcore fan base for their loud, fast, straightforward musical style. Releasing albums described as just 4 chords and 1 manic tempo, they toured almost continuously throughout the group's lifespan, reportedly performing 2,263 live concerts, which averaged out to 2 shows a week every week for the entire 22 years the band were active. With their no-nonsense sound, rebellious demeanour, and capacity for hard work in the face of limited finances, I feel like the Ramones are exactly the right kind of band for a Roger Corman production. Which makes it interesting that they're actually the third choice for the film. Corman originally approached Todd Rundgren, who I've never even heard of, and then Cheap Trick. Rundgren wouldn't agree terms, and Cheap Trick pulled out due to scheduling conflicts, which quite possibly arose as a result of the huge success of their 1978 live album, Cheap Trick at Budokan. Now, it is interesting to think about what might have happened in a world where this film was headlined by a suddenly multiple platinum band that were presumably getting a lot of media coverage. I suspect that one of the films that would happen is that this film itself would look very different. Rock and Roll High School clearly embraces a rebellious, anti-establishment, us against them aesthetic, and I suspect that a newly mainstream act like Cheap Trick would have been, in the circumstances, with a lot of money on the line, could well have insisted on a bit less anarchy in their film. And make no mistake, rebellion and anarchy is very much what this film has at its core. Pretty much all of the authority figures in the movie are incompetent, malevolent, or both, and the script shows no restraint or censure about the escalating antics it has Riff and her friends get up to, not even when those antics lead to extensive property damage. One thing that the film is fairly light on, though, that you might have expected to have in abundance, is raunch. If you're familiar with other Roger Corman films of the era, such as Piranha and Humans of the Deep, the latter which in particular features a lot of gratuitous nudity, that may come as a surprise. Corman wasn't shy about making movies to make money, after all, and in 1979, Bare Bosoms put male butts in seats. But Rock and Roll High School doesn't go that route. It does feature some skimpy outfits and acknowledges that sexual rebellion is a part of Cheap teen culture. But there's no actual nudity, and in fact, the film originally netted a PG rating from the MPAA. I'm not sure it still would today. I think the rather extreme actions that Riff and the Roans take at the end of the film would probably push it to a PG-13, but it wouldn't be for the sexual content. Escalation, rather than sexiness, is definitely the theme of the film. Lots of comedy in the film is in fact based on it. As I watched the first 10 minutes of Rock and Roll High School, I rolled my eyes a lot at the jokes with their obvious take standard motifs and turn them up to 11 vibe. But I grew over time to appreciate the film's commitment to those jokes. It keeps coming back to them, turning up to 12 and then to 15 and then to 20. A running gag involving testing the effects of rock music on lab mice, for instance, grows steadily more and more absurd while being treated as ever more pedestrian and normal by everybody involved. And this commitment to the bit did manage to worm a few laughs out of me, and by the end of the film I felt pretty well disposed towards it. It's a very simple movie with a broad sense of humour and a heavy reliance on tried and true themes of teenage rebellion to win the hearts of its intended audience. But, like I said at the beginning, it knows what it wants to do and it commits to it and it does it pretty well. Now, one problem, of course, is that what this movie does is something quite a lot of films do. And this movie's attempt to stand out comes from trying to tie into the fan base of a rising rock band, though, as I said, the Ramones never did quite turn their cult status into major commercial success. Whether or not you're going to enjoy the movie probably comes down to whether you're the kind of person to throw up the horns for Sheena as a punk rocker or not. Next time, though perhaps best known for violent action films like Sin City and Once Upon a Time in Mexico, writer-director Robert Rodriguez has also made a lot of films aimed at kids, and I'll be looking at one such offering, 2005's The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.